All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I am Jeremy from our training team. I will be leading our call today. Um, so if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A. I will go ahead and kind of go over some of the usual things, point out a couple things to check out that we have on our slide here. And then if you have questions, you can go ahead and start typing them up and we can get to them. Um, so, while I give you a chance to do that and for people to join, let's take just a quick look at some of our things we've got going on. So, as our typical usual stuff that we show off here, we've got our YouTube channel, the Solutions Marketplace, and all of our events coming up. And so I'm actually just going to switch my screen to show off some of those things to show you what we've got. So, always check out Decision Marketplace, marketplace.decisions.com. Great place to check out a lot of really cool applications we have and accelerators. If anything sticks out to you or is interesting, you can definitely take a look at them. I know in the past we've gone over some of these here and there. We've had questions about them. Definitely something to just kind of check out if you're curious and see some interesting things. And we've also occasionally put up videos on YouTube about some of these, so you can check that out too. But speaking of, we've got our YouTube channel. So our decisions training YouTube channel where we post all of our lunch and learns as well as a lot of videos and things. So there's a lot of great content out there as well. If you're curious or interested, definitely subscribe, like the videos, check them out. Um, you may find some interesting things. Very recently, just in the last few days, we've put a lot of things about performance implications, things you have to consider and be careful of for performance. We've got a step-by-step that focuses on the import Excel or CSV step. So if you utilize Excel or CSVs a lot, that may be useful for you. And we've also got a video that just went up recently about the DocuSign module. So a lot of cool things. Definitely check that out if you're curious. Check out our YouTube channel, and we've got a lot of great stuff up there. Last thing to point out real quick is our events. So a lot of events coming up, things to check out. We got our Submerse coming up next week. So that's coming up fast. If you're interested or know someone who's interested, get them signed up, registered, decisions.com/events, and you can register here. It is not our typical, if you have not heard our spiel here, it's not our typical very beginner basic Submerse. We will go over some of the beginner basics, but we're doing it with a brand new project that no one has seen before other than our training team building it and preparing this. So definitely really cool, something worth checking out. We go over set up a dog training situation where you work with signing up dogs for training, and we use API calls in this and truth tables. We talk about external entities and we utilize an entity in different ways. Lots of cool things. So definitely check that out. Webinar coming up on May 15th, and then we have our bi-weekly roadmap reviews. So if you're curious about upcoming features and things and decisions, you can check those out. So sign up for those there. All right. So we'll go ahead and start talking about any questions. So we do have quite a few people in here. So if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A. We'll be happy to discuss and do our best to kind of take a look at them. We do have 2 questions in the Q&A now, so we'll start going through those first. But if you have questions while we're going along, please feel free to type them up and we can reach out to them. All right. So we'll start with our first question that we've got from Helmut. So I'll let you speak if you have anything to add, but I'll read your question out loud first. I have a use case where a user has 2 dropdowns. Dropdown A has cascading logic that affects dropdown B. However, depending on the choice in dropdown A, dropdown B will present different data types. How can this be accomplished in a form where dropdown data is statically mapped?
Yeah, so um, we kind of already have built a form that does this, but I wanted to get your input and see how it ought to be done. So basically, um, just to go over kind of what I explained there, depending on choice in drop down A, drop down B, you know, in depending on your choice might require a string field. Depending on your choice in drop down A, drop down B might require, a quick lookup to some kind of external data table. But obviously, since the data types for the drop downs are statically mapped, that you know what we've done in the past is we use a vertical I forgot what it's called, a vertical
Vertical
layout,
stack.
a vertical stack, right? And
Yep.
we'll put multiple, or we'll put a layout in there. We'll put the multiple drop downs in there, and then we basically, show or hide the relevant drop down B depending on your
Yep.
choice in drop down A. Is that is that the kind of the best way to go about this? Is that the recommended way to go about this? I'm just asking to see what you'd say.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question. Um, that would have been my immediate thought. That's what I was kind of thinking towards immediately, because yeah, because you're right. There's not like an immediate way to set this or change this. The only other maybe weird thing, and this would be very dicey, I'd have to like consider um some of the options. I've never messed with any of the internal steps. Um, uh, with our internal services. There may be something here, but the likelihood is probably pretty low in relation to like forms. Most of this stuff is though directly related to the forms, not necessarily form controls. So I don't think this would yield that much result. I don't know if you can add, you might be able to adjust or find ways to like add certain components with specific things based on the choices.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're going for here. Like, so it's an active form flow that basically adds or removes the component instead of, having all of the components in a vertical stack and you're just showing or hiding them in one
Yeah,
spot. I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Okay.
It would definitely take a lot more, obviously a lot of testing to get this to work
Sure,
right
sure.
because, you'd have to make sure that you're putting it in the right place. It doesn't mess up your formatting, anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
it's
mean,
definitely
if
complex, but
if your
yeah, I would
first
think
thought
what you're,
is, yeah, the vertical
yeah,
stack, then that's good enough for me. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
because I mean that definitely achieves a result. The vertical stack helps the formatting as long as you set it up right to, keep things from being like odd. Like you don't have to have it like, in here where it's, like drop down here and a drop down here and it just bounces all over the place. The vertical stack
Right,
keeps it in
right, right.
line. Yeah, I think it's a good thought. I think that would probably be your best bet.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess my only hesitation is that basically we'll need a drop down C as well. That's going to kind of do something similar. So, obviously using that vertical stack, making it really big, fitting your drop downs in there, and then kind of making it up smaller, and then being, showing or not showing, gets a little dicey as far as working with the form designer. So, just wanted to see if that was the recommended.
yeah, yeah. As far as I know, I've never come across an alternative way to set this in a different way.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone else seems to be jumping at coming up with a um alternative at the moment. So I think that
Yeah.
that's probably your best bet.
Okie doke. Thanks anyway.
Yep, of course. Right. All right. Our next question. Let's see here. Okay. From Dong Mei. Question is general question about data table relationships. Is decisions internal data Oracle database? Is there a way to see relationship between tables? Can we run queries in MS SQL Developer? What is the data source to find flow or process submitted by me? Okay.
Kind of a general question start from just a database structure.
Mhm.
Is that Oracle database behind the decision system?
Um, so I'm not super familiar with some of the details of like Oracle or anything like that. But uh, basically everything that decisions is writing to is whatever the database that you have set up in your end for decisions to install against. Most commonly being the MS SQL database or sometimes a Postgres database. So it's all just going to be writing to those things. Whenever you create your databases or data structures or anything in decisions, it's writing to that. Like I know right now I'm running with an MS SQL database. So if I want to mess with anything or change or adjust or check any of those like SQL queries or anything like that, I can open up my
You can
uh
use the query editor.
yeah, so I can either use, like SQL Server Management Studio. If I want to like go directly into it, I also have the query editor here that I can easily query and check any of the items and things that I have. So you can see all the tables and everything on the side here. Connected to
And
the
then
local connection. If you have external connections connected, you'll also be able to see those here. So you can query some other external thing if you have an external database connected. As
so you
well.
see we can run those query in the MS SQL Developer.
Yes, if you have you can open it up in your other system as well if you have that connected. Which you should have connected. You can run things in there. You can run things in here. The query editor is a nice place to just add things. We also have the ability to, if you have any database connections in here, if you can create your connections to things, but you can also add query integrations here. So you can actually set up queries to run in your projects directly from this. And you can actually set it so that you can have steps run specific queries for you. So if you have like a query that you're trying to call often, you can actually have that connection set up or create the query integration to set up any connections that you want through here as well if you need to.
Mm. Okay. So I currently I need to write a query to find all the like a requester of the form, like the student submit lots of form. Then I want the people log in to see the form he submitted. Is that a internal table? Do you know which table it should be?
You're talking about like they had a
Some
form assigned to them or just completing a form in a flow?
just kind of like a submit a form, like the requester, like start from the like a student open a page, then they fill a form, then submit. Like those kind of, if student come in, I want like show student which form he submitted and the status of that. I think that will be internal table inside decisions,
Yes,
right?
most of that should be in here. It depends a little bit on what is happening with that information. So obviously, if you have something that's saving that information, you can utilize that to save it. For example, if I've got a case entity that I'm using to track the data, then there's going to be states throughout that process, and hopefully those I can easily just check. And you can either query or use a report on that case entity itself to track the data. If you're not actually using a case entity, like if you think back to like one of our earlier, I don't know if I have it in here actually. I might have removed it actually. Maybe I have a purchase request example here. Like like a simple like one of our purchase request projects that we had in our process. That's not right. Um, the purchase request project that we do in training is simply someone submits a purchase request and then it continues through the process after that.
Mm-hmm.
If you simply have your process where they complete the purchase request and then your process ends and you don't track it with something, um, which I don't know why I don't have that here. This might have just been a half-built project that I was using for demonstration. I don't think maybe I don't have the original project in here. Can look at financial lending project as an example then instead. So like on this project, right? User fills out a form, they fill out a few forms, right? And then it moves through the process.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have something here that's going to save this data,
Mm-hmm.
and my process ends, that data is gone, right? If I don't actually put that data or save it somewhere, that data is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That includes the current user, the submitted user, anything like that. If that data is not on the form, especially, that data is going to be gone. If I do
Mm-hmm.
have a step, which I do here, that creates the actual application, right, saves this as a case entity, and that
Mm-hmm.
includes the data like the person that submitted the information, stuff like that. Now that
Mm-hmm.
data is saved in my case entity, so I can just query the case entities or report on the case entities and find that data. On the chance that maybe I'm not saving that data, then the only other way to get the data that we're looking for here is looking at in process. If you go to administration and system tools and flow management, there is a section in flow management for stored workflows. And actually the default one does this automatically as well. Basically how this works is if there's an assignment that has not been completed in a process, it'll store the data from before that assignment. So you can get that other information. And this is something that you can actually find and have access to. For example, this testing flow ran some assignment and this assignment's in waiting. So I can actually look at some of the data or rerun this data or do something to change how the data works. If I'm trying to like actually gather information here. And that includes like the step start data, the flow data that's in the process and things like that. If I'm trying to gather that information, but this is only if it has an assignment in waiting, it'll save all the information from that flow into a temporary table that you can look up that temporary table and find the information and get the data from it. But as soon as this assignment gets completed, that data is gone because this is only temporary while the assignment's in waiting. It doesn't actually, hold that data forever. And so like I said, it kind of just depends on what exactly you're looking for in this situation and how you're saving the data already. Because if you're saving it in your data structure, database structure, case entity, whatever, then you could easily just search that entity and find the student that submitted this request, as long as their name is included or something about them is included in that data that's getting saved.
Yeah, but that will be kind of like in one specific workflow. But I kind of like want the general, like student maybe submit a form in this project and maybe submit another form in another project, kind of like the in general data where, so it will be somehow I believe it will be internal decision table with the submit process or something, whatever is submitted by me, then I think there should be a table to store that kind of information. You see what I mean? So it's not it's not just one case. It's kind of like I want to find all the case submitted by myself.
Got it. Yeah. In that case, I think, again, if it's just simply someone filling out a form and submitting the form, that you're only going to find that information if it's in process or in waiting, or if you are like actively saving it somewhere. Because if you're not purposely saving it, then you won't be able to actually find all those. I don't think there's just an all-around general place that can get all that data. Again, unless it's in waiting. If it's in waiting, then this table, the table that populates this flow management folder that shows all of these in waiting assignments.
Yeah.
This is across all projects. This is in system. It's not one individual project. This is all of my projects and everything. So obviously I don't have a lot going on here. Like in a real use case, this may be, packed full of things. In that case, you might be able to find more information about, hey, who, across project A, B, and C is there like this person's name or this user that's, submitted a bunch of different things that are in waiting. In that case, you may be able to find that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thank you. That's all answered my question. Thank you very much.
Right. We got a couple more questions here. We got a couple from Umar and one from Rajesh. So Umar had the next question, so we will go to you next.
Okay.
And so
can you hear
your
me?
questions? Yep. Let me read the questions out loud, and then if you have anything to add, you can go ahead. We'll start with the first one though. So the question is how to increase default request timeout for calling third-party API via an Azure integration.
So what happened is like, I found the request timeout property on the API call, like API call step. But I
Mhm.
increased it to 60 seconds, but still it was not following like my updated time, and it was timing out in the default 30 seconds. Dog API, nice.
Got it. So you set something, is it in here? I'm
Not
just,
here. So wherever you use this step
oh,
on your
you're in
flow,
like in the
yeah,
step in a flow.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
correct. Yeah. So if you okay,
Integration.
are you on latest version?
I'm on 9.7, so close to the latest
Okay.
version.
Okay. So look at that. When you click on get one on the right, yeah, you see that, right? So
Yes.
by default is 30 seconds, but even if I change it to 60, like 60 seconds, it was still timing out in 30 seconds only. I am
Mm.
on 9.6.x or something. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not on
Yeah.
9.7 yet.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me
Yeah.
check something here. It's not here. Hmm. Just trying to see if there's something
Mhm.
extra that we have to configure to set this. Because I thought that should be fine. As far as I've seen, it hasn't caused issues in any previous versions. But maybe there's something else. Let's see here. Okay. Um, just this. Hmm. I think this shouldn't include, and nothing on the method or anything itself either that affects that time. I don't know if there's a system setting, maybe. Hmm. I'm not sure why that wouldn't be causing the issue. Unfortunately, I
So
don't know. I
we had
don't.
set it to like 60 seconds since long, but today
Uh,
are like the actual API from where we are getting the data that was slow today. due to whatever reasons. And then we realize, yeah, actually, even though we have set it to 60 seconds since long, but it is actually timing out in 30 seconds only.
It's timing out at 30 seconds no matter what.
I should have taken the screenshot, but I didn't.
No. Yeah, unfortunately, I think this one just might have to be a question for the support team because I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I'm planning to add a ticket anyways. I
Yeah,
thought maybe, if I'm missing something, straightforward, then probably, I can get an answer here.
yeah.
If not, then I'm
I'm
anyways
looking.
planning
I
to add a
don't
ticket.
see anything that should be, as far as I've known, and as far as I can tell, looking at some things, I don't see any additional setting that needs to be set.
Mhm.
I believe it's just that setting that you were looking at, so I don't see why it would need.
The only thing that I thought that may have worked, which I have not tried, so there was one checkbox there called, do not use the default proxy or something. Uh, you know, it's not intuitive that, that would make any difference, but maybe, I can try that. Do
You're
not
talking
use
about
default
this.
proxy. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would say maybe just submit the support ticket and try seeing if
Yeah,
making adjustments here would work. But as far as I can tell, there shouldn't be any extra settings you need,
true.
outside of setting the timeout on here.
Okay.
That
No
should change
problems. I'll add
everything.
a ticket. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And
So my
then
next
the
question
second
was
question.
similar to what Rajesh's question is. So, while you do this, I mean, while you look for the second question, please keep me as well as Rajesh, both of us unmuted.
Yep.
Actually, we are working in the same team, so
Perfect.
probably, yeah, it will be better.
I will unmute Rajesh as well.
Okay.
All right, so then I'll just read both questions out loud and then we can start looking at this. So how to use the
Mhm.
compute business time step with dynamic day of week working times? How can we set the business days dynamically in the get business days step?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Compute, I think compute business time.
Yeah, second one. So if you look at the first property, it is saying list of, that's it. It's not even showing the data type there.
Interesting.
And the strange thing is if you provide the data manually, like constant data, it works.
That's interesting.
So
Okay,
if
yeah.
you uh, click on like build data or build array rather, not data, build array, and then if you click
Hmm.
on build data or something, now actually or maybe after you do that, what was that where we get to see the types. Okay, so instead of build array, click on flow, get from
Yeah.
flow,
Or you're
No,
flow
talking
build
about
data
the
array,
individual item.
not here, build array. Like instead of build array at
at
the
the
root
Oh,
top.
level.
up
Yeah,
here.
flow data. And yeah, look at that. At the top, you see the data type, right? Day of week working time. It's not exposed.
Hmm. Day of, that
It's
sounds like the
different.
same thing.
Day of week
Yeah.
working
Because day of
times.
week working time is not an option. Something like this. That's just the actual day itself, not
Yeah.
time aspect. That's interesting.
I even tried going into the system and like, look for the data structure, but it's not there. So I'm sure, like, it must be hidden right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exposed.
I wonder if maybe there's something that got removed, either intentionally or unintentionally.
No, one observation is that, it has to be there. That's why it is working even in case of constant data set, right? Because internally decisions must also be using the same data type.
Right.
It's just that it is not allowing us to set it or use it.
It's the day time span that seems to
So
be
that
the
itself is another, like, wrapper class. So if you
Yeah,
click on
build.
build data there, it will give you, yeah, this is where,
yeah from
it ends. It is again, like, further hour and minutes.
yeah.
So we even tried creating one class that or flow structure that mimics this behavior. We gave the same name like day of week working time, but obviously, it didn't like it.
Yeah. Obviously, it would seem very counterintuitive to just have to build data and build this out multiple times. I'm wondering if this is just, it seems like very unique, and I can understand why maybe not a lot of people have come across this. I'm wondering if this is just something we need to submit a DT for, um, on why this would not be here. Because theoretically, in any situation, you should be able to just have something come in from the
Yeah,
flow data, and if you can't, then obviously that's a problem. I'm guessing
yeah,
this is
because
something that I need to submit a DT for. So what I can do is I can ask the devs about this and see if they know
okay.
anything of a reason why it's not there in the first place, and if not, then we could definitely submit a ticket to get that fixed. Because
Okay, so we had
you're right.
already added a, like, technical ticket today.
Oh,
We
you
had a
did?
discussion. Oh yeah, we did. Before
Okay,
this call, actually, we were just there in that call, and unfortunately, the decisions representative there also, had absolutely no idea.
got it. Was this with the support team that you talked with?
Yeah, true.
Okay,
Supporting.
okay. Yeah, I'll send out a message too, and then if I'll figure out who sent that. Do you know who you worked with? Because I can just
Uh,
add them
Uh,
to it.
uh, the
yeah,
name was, let me find, Tivanda Wilson.
Okay,
yeah, Tawanda Wilson.
perfect. I'll definitely send a message and we'll push this to try to figure out what's going on.
And yeah, this is actually, like very high priority for us. We are
Yeah,
actually blocked on this. Like, release is actually dependent on this.
okay. Yeah,
Mm.
I'll send a message to Devs and Tawanda and get more information, and we'll
Okay.
definitely try to push this along because you're right. I don't think there's something off here because that shouldn't be
Hmm.
happening. And I'm sure it's probably just such a more unique use case why no one else has noticed or come across it, at least at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely get that for you, and hopefully you'll hear from myself or Tawanda or someone else very soon with more information.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, that's it from my side.
All right. All right. Anyone else? Looks like quite a few people have left already. Anyone else from in our call today have any other questions we can take a look at? All right. Well then, we'll go ahead and end off for today. So we'll continue tomorrow. We got one more lunch and learn. Gregory's on the schedule. He's a little under the weather today, so it'll likely be me if he's still not feeling well. So you'll see me or Gregory tomorrow on lunch and learn for the rest of this week. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a great day. Someone will reach back out to you all about your issues, and then hopefully we'll get more information on that. Otherwise, have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you all at the next lunch and learn.
Thank you.